I'm Andrew from Music Scene Media, and I'm joined by Christian from Anberlin. Can you tell us your role in the band?
I attempt to play guitar and I sing off key.
You heard it here 1st. Let's dive right in. My first question for you. You're currently on 20 years of Tears Tour with Hawthorne Heights, Thursday, and many more very talented bands. How has the reception to your set been each night?
From our perspective, it's been pretty great, to be honest. We've spent a long time kind of developing and honing in this live set with our new singer, Maddie Mullins. So we rehearsed a bunch before the tour, and at this point in a tour, you've definitely got your legs under you, so it feels like we're a pretty well-oiled machine. So honestly, if you're coming to the show, you're seeing probably the best Anberlin live show that you can possibly see right now.
Sounds really sick. I'm really excited for your set tonight.
Thank you.
Second off, going off of Maddie Mullins, this is the first full tour with him. I know you played a couple shows in the past 8 months, 9 months. Can you tell us what events led to Steven kind of taking a departure touring-wise, and what led you guys to choose Maddie ultimately?
Yeah. We'll have to rewind a little bit. So let's go back 10 years. We broke up, not because there was any animosity or anything, but people had just gotten older and started having kids and families, and it was just, harder and harder to, for those two things to exist in the same space. So we reformed in 2019 under the premise of if we can just do it when we want to do it, because we want to do it and why we want to do it, without the pressure of it being our only gig, right? Mm-hmm. So back when it was just our only job, you ate what you killed, right? So you had to be on tour, you had to be doing these things to make the income to support your families, that kind of stuff. So people weren't in the same spot coming into 2019, so we were kind of booking things around people's schedules and work schedules and all that kind of stuff. And cut to, then it's COVID. We did our best through that. Obviously, no one was playing concerts, so we did live streams to kind of keep the lights on and keep ourselves sane, as well as what feels like our fans as well, everyone that was stuck at home with some sort of odd sense of normalcy watching a concert. And then, post-COVID, Steven had gotten a new job, and we would discuss the touring for the year, and he would just be like, I can't really commit to any of that because of his career and of family and all that kind of stuff. So that happened for a couple of years, and it was just like we were just living in this limbo. I think Anberlin was just at a spot where people were like, we don't know what they're doing, right? And we were still releasing music, but we weren't really touring much at all. And so he called me last year. Steven called me and was basically like, I know I've been holding the band back in some ways, and I want you guys to consider touring with another singer. So Steven was the one that put this all in motion. He said, I wanted to come with a solution, not just a problem. So I called a bunch of singers, of contemporaries and friends of ours, and he said, Maddie Mullins 100% wants to do it. So, he wanted me to just think about it. So I called the rest of the dudes. And I think our initial response was, I don't know how that's going to work, and just for obvious reasons. There are examples of it working with other bands, but it's just tough when it's your own band, trying to navigate and wrap your head around what that would even look like for ourselves and for our fans. So, but like I said, this was almost 2 years ago at this point. So we thought about it and we just talked about it, and ad nauseum as a group, individually with Maddie, individually with Steven, and just started coming up with hey, this could actually work, and here's why it's a really cool, fun story. Maddie grew up listening to Anberlin. He's got a picture that he shared a few times with him in 10th grade wearing an Anberlin shirt, so there's a really fun story there. There is no animosity with Steven. Steven didn't quit the band, he didn't get kicked out. He was just like, can't tour, I'll be involved as much as I can moving forward, but that's still a lot of the band to decide of who sings on what or what shows someone's going to play or not play. So I guess that's the short story long.
Yeah, and I recently saw that you actually brought out Steven for a couple songs or a single song.
It was a song in Clearwater, so obviously we all live close to Clearwater. That's where the band basically, everyone lives in Tampa, St. Pete area, and then Nate lives in Tampa. So we just thought it'd be fun. Obviously he was in town. Nate our drummer is currently not on this tour either because he just had a baby. So
congratulations, and
yeah, his third child, second boy in the band. I had the first boy, so I broke the curse. But yeah, so he couldn't do this tour, but he came out to the Clearwater show and played most of the set that he let his brother-in-law, who's playing drums for us right now. Daniel plays in the Word Alive. You let Daniel, yeah, they are awesome. Those are good friends. We took them out in Australia earlier this year, but so yeah, it's like it's a fun thing, you know. It's like we're just trying to work as a community to keep moving this thing forward towards and keep the lights on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was basically like try something new for an indefinite amount of time or break up again. And honestly, I feel like if we broke up again, I wouldn't be able to reform. I wouldn't want to do that to our fans, to just keep their heads spinning. You know, I don't want to be Kiss where it's like you're on an eternal farewell tour, right?
yeah, exactly.
So this was just like a fun. Saying yes in life is so much more exciting than saying no, because you know exactly where no leads, and yes, you don't know what doors may open or what roads might present themselves, or you know, the roads you might build yourself. So it just was a way to keep moving forward, and maybe Steven comes back at some point and his life clears up a little bit more where he can come on tour, but we're just writing the script as we go. So
yeah, and that's honestly the best way to go about this. I know you want to be there for your fans, and you guys broke up 10 years ago. I actually personally I saw you guys July 28th of 2014 at PNC Music Pavilion in Charlotte.
okay.
That was the first time I had ever seen Anberlin, and then I thought it was going to be the last. Then you guys came to the same venue here, the Fillmore in Charlotte. You headlined it, sold it out.
2019.
That was an incredible show. That was actually the first show I ever crowd surfed at as well. Yeah, it was a fantastic show. Everything about it, and I'm glad to have you guys back out, even with a different lineup. It's almost like going to see you guys again for the first time.
For sure.
This is my first time seeing you with Maddie, and I know it's a lot more of your fans' first time, and it's a complete reinvention of the band, and I'm glad to see you out here killing it.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're grateful to be here, to be honest.
Right. So, speaking about your new material, Walk Alone is the first single off of your new upcoming album, Vega. With this track being relatively familiar, yet drastically different to your previous material, how would you describe the development of this track and how it came to fruition?
This track started, I think, with Nate, and I think initially it wasn't tuned low. We tuned it down pretty low for the actual recording, but initially it was just like in a standard tuning, and it almost felt up like a very true throwback Anberlin. It felt like something you would hear on Blueprint, and we were struggling with it, like because we've kind of the last two EPs have been kind of a progression into areas we haven't really done sonically, like I said, tuning lower. We always just try to push ourselves. No one wants to make the same album twice as an artist. Like, obviously you don't want to like e-brake turn on your fan base and change your sound entirely, but we've done a good job of kind of developing our sound over 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And so, but then the more we thought about it, initially we were going to have Steven and Maddie track on that song, and then Maddie tracked to it in his home studio and sent it back. And then I was like, actually, we could tune it lower, and it will kind of bring that into the new Anberlin thing as well. And like, it just started making more and more sense of like, for the first, introduction of Maddie to our fan base, we thought it'd be fun to do a fun throwback Anberlin sound, traditional Anberlin sounding song with the new singer that had a positive message, was an upbeat song, wasn't just us like, drudging, like doom metaling or whatever.
Groundcore.
Yeah, so that was honestly like, initially we weren't even going to use the song. I was like, Nate, maybe you can sell it to another band or something like that. And then the more we sat on it, the plan started taking shape. Like, actually, I think this will be the way to go. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a really killer track. My girlfriend's actually the one filming right now, but I could not wait to show her the song when she got home from work. I was like, you gotta hear this song. And I've shown everyone in my family. Everyone loves it.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you. Yeah,
it's a great
super
track.
proud of that song, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a really good one. I'm really stoked to hear what you guys have in store in the future, especially going off of what you said. You were trying to track it with both Steven and Maddie. I know that your new album has 2 tracks that are just Maddie, correct? Do you have, maybe planning forward, do you have any kind of ideas in your heads about kind of combining both singers of Anberlin into one track like you were trying?
Yeah, I think it'll, it's not just the song itself of like listening to it and going like, who's going to sound better here? It's also thinking towards the future of like, if Maddie's going to be here for a minute, then it's awesome for him to, obviously he likes singing Anberlin songs because he grew up singing Anberlin songs, right?
Yeah.
So, but to have him have his own songs as well, where he's not just singing Steven karaoke. So, we talked with Steven a little bit earlier this year just to kind of get a picture of what his availability would be for next year. And it felt similar to the previous years. So, point being, if Maddie's going to keep singing for us, it behooves us to give him more songs where it's just Maddie, where you're not hearing it on the record and it's Steven, and then you're coming, whether you're disappointed or not, and then it's Maddie singing it. You know what I'm saying? So we're just trying to navigate that with wisdom between the two. I mean, there will be songs, I guarantee it, with both singers. There'll be songs with just Steven, there'll be songs with just Maddie. But like I said, we're in the early stages of like a rebirth here, so we're still trying to walk before we run, if that makes sense.
Yeah, exactly. And to be cheesy, you guys don't want to walk alone. So you're going to go together. You're going to be more, you seem more united than you've been in the past decade, if I'm being honest.
Well, we have a plan and a goal. So I think we were just kind of flailing a little bit in the past decade of like not really knowing where we wanted to go or what exactly we were doing. And now it feels like there's we felt like we were walking in circles for a bit, and now it's like I feel like we're putting one foot in front of the other towards goals every day, and it feels super vindicating and validating because it's been a lot of work to get here, to tell you the truth. It was like a Herculean effort of pulling this thing out of the grave.
And I really respect what you guys are doing. I've been following the band since I was about 15.
Thank you.
And I've watched every album cycle in the past decade, and this is the happiest I think I've seen you guys since I've been following you. And even with Steven kind of taking a break, he's still very much so involved. And
for sure.
I don't see a lot of bands do that, and I think that's very honorable and honestly really unique.
It is. Steven told me when we had that conversation, the initial one, he was like, I just want everyone to win. And I feel like this is a win for him as well, because he didn't want to be here, so he felt a loyalty to us and a commitment to us, but he was definitely struggling with it. So like you said, he wasn't happy. We weren't happy. So you're right. Everyone is in a happier spot. Now he's happy because he doesn't feel the pressure to be like, how do I navigate my home life, my job, and my business with my friends? He can say, you guys, bless you, you carry on, and we'll stay in touch and we'll see how that works. But it gives him the ability to focus on what he needs to focus on. It gives us the ability to focus on what we need to focus on. So everyone is winning. You're right. I'm glad you noticed that. So
of course.
Yeah.
I'm very, very devoted fan. I've got your logo tattooed on me.
It is.
And I don't know if it's actually in the frame, but I've got this as my first tattoo. So I'm very, very stoked to be here with you. Following up on the topic of your newest album, what actually inspired the creation of your new album, Vega, and how did the writing processes differ from your previous releases?
So Vega is just really the previous 2 EPs combined and different track listing plus 2 new songs, and that was always the goal. Once we found a home at Equal Vision, that was always the plan. I had just done something similar with my other band, Acceptance, of kind of a slow drip release of it. Just like in this day and age, attention spans are so short and people are always on to the next thing. So it's like when you release a full album worth of songs, it feels like it's there on people's radars and then it's gone. But if you can break things up, especially for us at that time, we weren't touring it truly at all. So it behooved us to be able to slow drip something over multiple years, that gave us things to keep talking about, other than just like, hey, did you even listen to the record we put out 2 years ago? That's because we're not talking about touring, we're not doing anything current. So we started writing. When we got back together, we didn't even have plans to write. We kind of liked the way we tied things up with Lowborn, and we're a little leery of like interfering with anything of like Anberlin sound. And truly, it was when COVID hit. Obviously, we had a lot of time on our hands and needed to do something and put your focus and attention somewhere. So that's when we decided to start writing. So we did all that ourselves, and then we shopped it around. We recorded it all ourselves, and then sent it to labels and decided to sign to Equal Vision. And this has been the long-term plan since we signed to Equal Vision, however many years ago. So that was the whole process. Some fans were like, thinks we're trying to like pull a fast one on them or something, and it was like, no. Well, first of all, if you own the EPs, you don't have to buy the album. No one's telling you to buy anything, right? This was just our reasoning was like slow dripping an album. Like, here's a couple singles, here's an EP. Next year, here's a couple singles. It's given us things to talk about over the past couple of years. Yeah.
I'm glad you found a place that you find home in terms of a record label. Like going back to when I said this is the happiest you've ever been. Everything in this sort of rebirth and rebranding of your band is everything seems to fit more, and everyone seems happier, including with the songwriting processes, the way your band is being advertised. You seem to be getting more tours as of lately. I think this is the best thing that I've seen you guys go through in the past decade.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm
really
glad.
stoked for you.
It's good to see people that are paying attention and notice it as well. And like you are correct. This is like the best wind-up and release we've had. Even the previous two releases were on Equal Vision, but we didn't have a plan. We were kind of flailing. So if we don't have the plan, we can't tell them, hey, this is what we want. So this time it was like I said, every aspect of this band was thought through, worked through because we were trying to do something crazy. Like putting in a new singer, we needed everything absolutely dialed in so that we could come out of the gate with all guns blazing. That's just like, these shows are so important. We can't play. People are coming every night skeptical, to be honest. They're like, okay, I'll give it a shot, right? And so it's our duty to win over hearts and minds. And I'm talking to fans every night, like, I came in skeptical, but holy smokes, that was awesome, and I will definitely be back. And it's like, that's the spot where we're at now. We can't sit back and be comfortable in the career we built over 20 years. It's like, we're trying to revitalize that right now. So every part matters. Everything hinges on the other thing. So I'm glad you noticed it. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. I really like what you said. It's kind of like you're introducing yourselves again to everyone, even the longtime fans. And you kind of did do that in a way with Steven's last two US shows. And a lot of people I know in the Anberlin community were there, long hardcore fans, and I asked them, because I wasn't able to make it, they said, you are in for an absolute ride in this new era. So I'm really stoked for you guys.
Thank you. Yeah,
absolutely. My fifth question. Every member of the band has their own sort of side projects, such as Anchor and Braille, Acceptance, Loose Talk, Memphis May Fire as well. When you guys come together and say, hey, it's time to make a new album, what kind of ideas can we throw into the ring? Do each of you guys kind of think to the different sounds that you have with your other bands, say, hey, how can we kind of evolutionize our Anberlin sound?
For the most part, most of everyone's side projects are pretty different flavors from Anberlin, right? So Loose Talk is a heavy blues-based band, so not a lot of songs that I would write for Loose Talk would be like transferable to Anberlin. There's times where Steven is working on Anchor and Braille stuff, and he'll say, hey, does Anberlin want to use this song? And we could say yes or no. He does have some songs where they do fit, Anberlin's lighter things we toyed with, but everyone is able to kind of compartmentalize the different genres of their side projects that they're in. Like I said, and truly, Nate's got a side project with Tim from Underoath called Carolhood, and it's like he'll send stuff and be like, hey, does Anberlin want to use this? It's a little left field, you know. So everyone, if it would work, I would put it forward and say, hey, here's a riff I wrote for Loose Talk.
Yeah.
Just to dabble with this. You know, we have a song, Little Tyrants, that I wrote, does have that kind of vibe a little bit. It's a little just more rock and roll leaning, but as a whole, like, I wouldn't say most of my stuff I write for them is pretty separate. So.
That's fair, yeah.
Yeah.
I like how you guys do at least consider it before writing a track, and I like the variety of artistry that you guys all kind of share. So I think, in my opinion, every band, they try to kind of change their sound with each release, and I think the fact that you're at least considering it to an extent,
for
like,
sure.
hey, this idea I have for this band would potentially work well. I think that would, some big fans would potentially be stoked about.
Acceptance in Anberlin do have a lot of overlap. In fact, when I got Acceptance back together after Anberlin broke up, I basically was able to say, hey, here's 300 demos I've written for Anberlin that we didn't use over the years. Like, hey, you want to start pulling from these? And the same thing, like, I wrote a song for Acceptance that we didn't use while Anberlin was broken up, and then when we reformed, Banksy, that's a song on Convinced, was a demo I had originally written for Acceptance that we didn't use. I mean, I brought it to Anberlin, we worked it into what it is now. So there is an overlap there for sure. Anberlin just gets a lot heavier than Acceptance.
Yeah, that's fair, and I think that's kind of the direction you may be heading. I heard a snippet of 7, and that's a heavy track.
Super heavy, yeah. It's, you know, it's fun to, you know, they're different singers, Steven and Maddie, and they're really good in their own right, but in different ways. And Maddie allows us to bring some heavier aspects that vocally Steven can't really do the way Maddie. You know what I'm saying? So I'm excited for people to hear that, because a lot of people are like, what is this? Not a lot of people, but some people don't like how poppy Walk Alone is. So I'm just like, yo, be patient. We're about to release probably the heaviest song Anberlin ever released. So
I'm stoked for it, for sure. Anberlin has performed all kinds of shows, hundreds of shows all over the globe. I don't even know if you've performed every continent as of yet. Hopefully you get there. You performed bands such as Linkin Park, the Smashing Pumpkins, all sorts of huge bands. If you had the chance to tour or even collaborate with any of your favorite artists, who would it be and why?
Dave Grohl, not so much for his songwriting, because in my opinion, so just subjectively, he can be pretty hit or miss, but he seems like the coolest guy on the planet.
Oh, yeah.
And he's so incredibly talented that I just feel like that would be a fun process with someone, because I do think he is incredibly creative, and I do think he's written some of the best songs, you know, in rock and roll, basically, at least current rock and roll. But I think more than that, it would just feel like he just seems like a fun human being. You know?
Oh yeah, he's one of my favorites as well.
Yeah, and just the stories he's got, you know, we recorded with Brendan O'Brien when we did Dark is the Way, and he's just a legendary rock producer. He's done Pearl Jam, Alice in Chains, everything under the sun, rock and roll wise. Stone Temple Pilots, like, can't remember, but the list is overwhelming, right? So it was just fun to be in the room with someone that was such a personable person and a fun person, and just had some of the stories he has and some of the gear he has, like songs I'm playing on. It's like, oh, Eddie, better, you know, use that on Better Man or something, you know, like, whatever, you know. I'm like, oh my God, you know. So
yeah, that's really sick that you have that experience and you got to hear from someone else's perspective of all the things they've been through, and you get to share that knowledge with them. That's really, really sick to hear as a fan of all these bands that this person has worked for. And that's really sick to hear. Yeah. Kind of elaborating on that question, kind of going on it. Are there any sort of smaller or relatively unknown artists that you've been listening to recently that you may want to introduce your fans to if they don't know them already?
If you like heavier stuff, my buddy is in Ohio. One of my best friends, his nephew, is the screamer in this like pretty straight up hardcore band. They're called oh man, now I'm brain for it. Holy smokes, no, I feel
all good.
Disobedient Crew. They just released a new song. There's a kid in Colorado we've played with. His name's Devin Barris. He has a band called Sun Sleep that's really cool. We did a couple of years ago, we were doing residencies where we just play 3 nights in one venue and 3 records, and his band, Sun Sleep,
Oh, there too, yeah.
yeah. Sun Sleep opened for us in Colorado, and they're just really good. I think they're pretty up and coming, to be honest. They're just incredibly talented. I don't know. I could probably go on forever into every genre, but
Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be sure to link those in the description.
Please do, yeah.
Definitely check out those bands. Please do it. If you're an Anberlin fan, check them out, because Christian said so.
For sure.
With social media being an integral part of how bands operate nowadays and promote their music, I've noticed that each of you in the band have had a larger presence on social media in the past couple of years than you did before you broke up the first time. What kind of impact on your success has social media had so far, and what do you plan to do to reach to a larger audience in the future?
Starting around when the band started would be, early internet, early song ripping sites like LimeWire and whatever pick your poison there. So at the time it was tough because it did really affect the music industry in as far as like record sales goes. But the silver lining on it was, a lot of times you wouldn't have distribution outside of the US. So you've got now this worldwide market of people that have access to American bands that their labels might not, if you're on a small indie label, they might not be distributing in Australia or wherever. So that led to when Anberlin first went to Australia, never played there, didn't even have a record out there. The shows were all sold out. Now, granted, they weren't like huge shows at the, relatively, but still to be going to a country for the first time where you don't even have music release to go and play like 300, 400, 500 cap rooms to people that are losing their minds. And you're just like, how do you even know who we are? So that was like, I guess you had to kind of look at the pluses, and as we've moved forward, social media is such an important part of a band's business, because even like let's say tonight we're playing for whoever's here, whoever came to the show, but we brought a social media person to basically capture every show so that we're able to get out content, because like I said, it's a worldwide market of where we're playing here tonight, but we'll get video footage from it and edit it together to like a cool looking thing, and that's showing the rest of the world, hey, this band is active. It's like such a massive tool for you to reach all of your fans or people that can't make it to shows or whatever. Like, we were just not lazy, I don't think, before. I just don't know that I use the word a bunch, but you compartmentalize things and go, oh, this is what my job in the band is. I write songs, I play at concerts, whatever else should not be my responsibility. But the truth of it is, we own the business, right? The members own the business. Whoever works for us, those are our employees. Managers, CEO, you've got a CFO, you've got an agent, you've got all these things. But it's our job to instruct them into what we're looking for. It's their job to say, hey, we have this team of people, and I'm going to put them in place. They're going to help build your career, because it's not just about this. Like I said before, in all aspects of the band, everything hinges on the other thing, and they're all gears in the machine. Some bigger than others, but the smaller gears turn the bigger gears. So it's like, it's all important to have all these things working at the same time. And I think we just really realized that of like, hey, we need to be a little more present with all aspects of our business and be a little more hands-on, and not that we were checked out, but like I said, I think most people, we were touring so much back then as well. It was like tough to be like, supposed to be on tour 10 months out of the year, supposed to write all this stuff, supposed to go in the studio, and I'm also supposed to run all this stuff. So it's nice when you have someone that's like, hey, I just need these items, and I'm going to get your photographer to make sure that we're getting these things. You send them to me and I'll get them out there. So it's not my job to come up with everything. Yeah, but we still come up with ideas. But
well, I'm glad to hear that perspective. It kind of shows that even smaller artists that are working and busting their ass right now on TikTok and Twitter and everything, trying to get content out on a daily basis, they'll end up getting to a point where they could be in your shoes and hire other people and have that done, so where that stress is kind of lifted. So I'm glad to hear that there is a chance for that stress to get off of people's shoulders, others did with you.
We're all on social media, and you can truly ask yourself if you don't post it, did it actually happen, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, was I even here?
I'm not saying like everything needs to be on social media, but that's the way it's like, it's just a way to show people what you're doing. Initially that was what it was. It was like, oh, well, what's so-and-so doing? I'm going to fund their MySpace, There's my buddy from high school or whatever, or whoever, oh, look, they're married and they've got kids. It's just like, it's just how we operate now, good and bad. I think it's been a net negative impact on society, but here we are.
Yeah, understandable. I agree with you on that to an extent. Yeah, sure. One last question.
Okay.
In the past, you've documented your creative journey behind the creation of your albums, just like Cities. You had a whole documentary about it. Mm-hmm. Have you ever considered doing something like that again with the rebirth of your band, essentially? And if you do, what would you potentially do differently than you did in the past?
I wasn't in the band when they did the Cities one. No, I've watched it. I think it was well done. We've done a few. There was another one that was we did during Vital. What did we call that? Making Friends. No, that's the Radiohead thing. Pretend to Be Friends. Mm-hmm. Yeah, was another short documentary we did during Vital, which was more of like an art piece. You know what I mean? So Nate's pretty arty, and he's kind of the artistic director behind the band. I think it would be smart to kind of start cataloging as much as we can. We talked about Steven flying up, because Matty basically has spent the past however many years building out his own studio in his house where he can just do everything himself, which is convenient, and in the long run will save you a ton of money, right? About renting studio time and engineers, all that kind of stuff. So, but we talked about flying Steven up to Matty's studio and having them track together, having Matty track Steven and being cataloging that kind of stuff. I think it would be fascinating for fans. Yeah. Same with the creative process moving forward. I think trying to get behind the scenes as much as we can. I like that stuff, and we try to do it even on tour, not just here's more pictures of us rocking out, or here's another video of us rocking out. We try to get some of the day in the life of a touring artist, at least in the Anberlin camp footage, because I think people think that's interesting. It pulls back the curtain a little more. Yeah.
I'm really fascinated with stuff like that.
Yeah.
I'm sure that a lot of your fans would be interested to get to know you guys a little more personally, other than just what you have shown in terms of touring. They want to have more of a chance to see who the people behind the band are.
For sure.
And I think that'd be a really cool idea in the future to kind of do. Mm-hmm. Maybe not just a recording process. I like the touring aspect as well. I think it's really cool to see. Yeah.
Yeah.
And anyways, for the interest of time, my name is Andrew from Music Scene Media. This is Christian from Anberlin. Do you have any sort of closing statements that you'd like to tell the audience?
Yeah, recently I've just been wanting to express gratitude, because it wasn't lost on us how difficult change can be. Especially, I grew up loving bands, you know what I mean? They're so special to me, and I can empathize and put myself in other people's shoes and understand how weird this might be for a lot of people. But I think ultimately I've covered it in this interview, but I just want to reiterate, we did this for ourselves, and we also did it for the fans, because it was a way forward, and we just was so grateful that people have been pivoting with us and trusting us. You know what I mean? Part of that is be patient. You don't need to know everything all the time. You know what I mean? Let us surprise you. Again, because I can't, everyone's like, what about this? And what about that? And it's we'll get to that. Once again, it's just in this day and age, you just have everything at your fingertips, and your favorite artists and everything. And everyone feels so entitled to it all. And I do want to give people what they want, but at the same time, I'm if you like the band and you believe in us, then just be patient with us. Because we're trying to do our best by ourselves and by our fans. Truly, this was not easy to get here. This was a really tough process. I quit working my other job just to focus on this, and that I wasn't making any money. This has been hard work to get here, because I care and I wanted to fight for it this time. I didn't want to break up again for you guys as much as ourselves. I'm because I don't want it to go away again. I mean, without being irresponsible, of course, right?
Yeah.
But right now, it's just a time. There's a thing happening right now, and it just felt so weird to just be like sitting on the benches while we're watching all our friends' bands thrive in a resurgence of like emo scene when it was like really tough. So I think that's what I want more than anything for everyone to understand was like, it's not all self-serving, everything we're doing. A lot of it is because we love our fan base so much, and we want to keep riding it for as long as we can with you guys. So
yeah. You're living your dream, and you want to continue living the dream, and you want to bring all your fans along for the ride.
It's a community. There's no us without our fan base. So we want to be respectful of that, but also, you know, and it's appreciative of the people that are encouraging, and like, you know, we're getting a little snippy, not snippy, but the internet can be so weird that people just feel have the freedom to say whatever they want to say, and like, we'll respond. I'm not trying to be mean to anybody, but I'm just kind of trying to tell people like, yo, that's a rude thing to say to somebody, right? I have no problems doing that. So people see that and they're like, their band's whatever, like indignant, and it's like, no, we're just, if you're a fan, just roll with this. And I understand if it's different and you don't like it, that's fine. Not everyone, and you, not an idiot.
They got to keep it.
Not everyone's gonna like Matty Mullins' voice. I get that. You want Steve. Steven's such a unique person. I agree. I understand. He's the lead singer of the band. You connect with him. You connect with his lyrics. He's the one that saved your life or whatever. Like, I understand that. He doesn't want to be here right now, and that he might have been gone forever if we went over.
Yeah.
So it was like, this was a route forward to keep the band going, and Steven to possibly come back. So I just appreciate you guys.
Well, if no one else says it, I'll say it to you. Thank you very, very much for coming back and making all the fans happy again. Thank you for keeping the band alive with a fresh face. I am a fan of Memphis Mayfire. I saw them first time 9 years ago. I was stoked to see this change. I'm stoked to see you guys hit the stage tonight. And to anyone that's watching, please check out Anberlin with Matty Mullins. Please check out Walk Alone. Please check out their new album, Vega. Without Matty Mullins, without Steven, without everyone in the band, there would be no Anberlin. So please just keep an open mind. Well, this is Andrew, Music Scene Media, Christian from Anberlin. You have a great day, man.
Thank you, my friend.
Stoked to have you.